Hi, I'm Rich Gallagher. Welcome to Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear. We have a special guest joining us today from Yamaha. We have Julian Ward, Guitar Product Planning Manager. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
From the UK, and you're spending time in Japan and in the United States. You're all over the world.
Yeah, I work directly for Yamaha Japan, but based from the UK. So it kind of puts me in a nice position that I can travel to Asia, Europe, the US really easily and be in touch with people playing guitars.
Right, absolutely. Where's the food the best?
The food that I enjoy the most, I've got to say, is in the States.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's great. Although the sushi in Japan does have the edge.
It's tough to beat it there,
yeah.
Right. So you are here bringing us an entirely new line of guitars from Yamaha.
Yeah. This is our first totally new line of guitars in maybe 10 or 11 years. It's the RevStar.
Right.
And it's something completely new for us. And yeah, we're pretty excited about these.
No doubt. So what, after 10 years, I mean, Yamaha has had a number of successful lines of guitars and instruments that people are sought after by players. What led you to want to develop a completely new line?
Well, we were looking at what Yamaha should do, about whether there really was a space for Yamaha in the electric guitar market, what that space should be, and actually talking to customers and trying to figure out, what do you want from us? What, if you could ask Yamaha to make you anything, what would it be? Because it's easy sometimes for us to push what we think would be cool out.
Sure.
And people maybe go, yeah, okay. We wanted to make sure we were doing what guitarists really wanted. So we spent a lot of time talking to players and actually posed that exact question. What would you like us to make for you? And what kept coming back was people saying, well, we just want you to make something that's a little bit different. Just something that I don't have. It's like a lot of people have got a collection already, maybe a growing collection, but what they want from us is something that fits into that and just gives them something new. Not wildly out there, not totally crazy different, just has its own little niche. And, we looked at what we had in our existing lineup and what we've done in the past, and we thought, actually, if we're really going to stay true to this, we think we should do something new and find out that place to what is different today probably needs something new. So let's just start from scratch and make a completely new guitar.
All right, so if you're going to start from scratch, what do? You start with a blank piece of paper and start sketching body shapes, or do you have a tonal goal in mind or a functional goal in mind, or where do you start?
Again, this is something, I mean, the process for this, it's taken us about 3 years to get to the point of having these finished guitars. So it's a pretty long process to make a guitar. A guitar is not a super high-tech advanced thing. They look pretty simple, right? Not so much. There's actually quite a lot in there. So actually, and to answer your question, we talked to customers, we talked to players, and had exactly that conversation, which is, so what do you mean? What is different? What should we do? Where should we be?
Right.
And we found that actually what people didn't want us to change massively was the tone. We knew, the basics of what a great guitar tone should be, but we don't need to reinvent the wheel there. Playability needed to play well, but it's pretty easy for a guitar manufacturer to define what that is. It came down to the form. It came down to the shape and the design and the vibe and the style of it. So we started wanting to make and having an idea that actually it would be cool for us to make a set neck guitar. So kind of a mahogany construction set neck guitar, because we're pretty well known for doing that with the old SGs and the SBG and the SF and a couple of different models. And again, that was where it seemed there was an interest in making a slightly different tone and having a bit of a different tone in people's library. So we started knowing broadly the tonal world we wanted to live in, and we had an idea for the playability from what we hear from our artists and players going forwards. And then to start the design, it basically was start down and sketching out body outlines. We worked with 3 different design teams. We worked with an agency out of London. We've got a custom shop in Burbank in California, and we've got our own design lab in Japan in our head office just outside Tokyo. And all 3 of those guys were doing designs and putting stuff down straight away. And we started off, I think our initial concept was 16 different shapes. And we drilled down and refined and drilled down and refined until we got to maybe 2, until we got to this one.
Right. Well, it came out great.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really happy with it.
Yeah, just in grabbing a few of them here, what really struck me is they're very comfortable to play. And I think one of the things that really jumped out at me is that even though they're bound around the top, they actually are rounded back a little bit, aren't they, where your arm comes across the upper bout there.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting guitar, actually, because every little detail of this has been really considered. I think it's easy sometimes for a company to go, we've taken care of every detail, we've thought about everything. But having been involved in this from the very first day of the project right through to now, I can honestly attest to the fact that all of the things in there are detailed. So we wanted to create actually quite a utilitarian kind of stripped down looking guitar. Actually, the looks of the guitars were inspired by cafe racer motorbikes from the 60s and 70s, which were, if you like, regular bikes, but then with everything unnecessary stripped off. And the cafe racer thing came from literally racing from one cafe to the next on a weekend. So everything was about just performance and getting the most out of your bike. And that was a huge part of the inspiration for these guitars visually, because obviously, you know, Yamaha is a big motorbike company.
Sure.
That's where we came from. So what we were looking for with the guitars was this stripped down, utilitarian kind of vibe. And part of that is a flat top. You know, as soon as you have a flat top on a guitar, it takes on a little bit more of a, maybe a bit more muscular kind of character, a little bit more just ready to get down to business. But flat top on a guitar makes this area pretty uncomfortable if you're not careful.
Right.
So one of the things we figured out, actually, just adding this forearm contour on there, really, really valuable. Makes it so you from the front still occurs like a stripped down flat top guitar, but from the player's point of view, this is super comfortable.
Right. It also looks like you've done some work on the neck joint there. It's very comfortable to play all the way up.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work on getting the neck joint exactly right. So you've got really nice upper fret access. I mean, you can get right in there to the top frets. That thing's super comfortable, and a nice deep belly cut as well. So it really is a guitar that has that kind of slightly down and dirty vibe. Because, you know, any guitar that's in some ways overly sculpted, we were concerned that you'd feel a little bit delicate about it. That sometimes you want a guitar that you're going to dig into. This still has that, but tons of comfort and really, really playable, even if you're going to go out and play a long gig and a long set. Yeah, you've got all those comfort things taken care of.
Right. So I think you have 5 of the line here today.
Yep.
Can you give us just a basic rundown of what the difference is, say, between starting here and going up to the one you're holding and some of these others?
Sure. Well, there's some construction differences, and there's some hardware differences, and there's some cosmetic differences. Obviously, the outline is the same on all of them. The only guitar that doesn't get the contour on the top is the entry model. This is the RevStar RS320.
Okay.
So actually, this one was designed as our sort of super stripped down, just kind of get you there, real workhorse guitar. So they've all got set neck joints, so you've got that joint for tons of sustain and a nice, really big, thick sound. This one is solid NATO body and neck. You've got a couple of custom wound ceramic pickups. All of the guitars actually have our own YGD, which stands for Yamaha Guitar Development, and that's sort of the title of our secret little guitar development group. All of the pickups are custom YGD wound pickups. We have ceramic magnets in this one, partly because there's no maple top on this guitar, it's just solid NATO, which gives you a lot of warmth and a lot of body and mid-range.
Right.
But you maybe want to brighten it up a little bit with the pickups. So using the ceramic magnets just gives it a little bit more punch and a little bit more grit to the sound. So obviously this one's got no binding, single ply scratch plate, the real straight ahead top hat knobs, standard 2-piece Tune-O-Matic bridge, just down to business, ready to go, ready to rock.
Right. It has a really nice, comfortable, slim neck on this one, though. It's really a playable guitar.
Yeah, the neck profiles are slightly different depending on where you land in the range. The 320 and the 420, which is this guitar and the red one at the back here, have a slightly slimmer neck and standard slimmer frets. So just make it a little bit more playable and, again, keep the tone nice and bright.
Right.
Then as you move further up, some of the higher end guitars have got a slightly chunkier neck, just feels a little bit more meat in your grip there, and jumbo frets. So kind of reflecting the fact that maybe people wanting a different style or a slightly different vibe of guitar, the neck, you know, it's a little bit like the gear shift or the steering wheel in your car. This is actually what you spend all the time with your hands on.
Right.
And for a different style or a different type of player, who we do think is going to appeal You know, different models are going to appeal to different types of players.
So let's look at the next one on the line, which is the 420. Why don't I grab this from you here? I'll be happy to hold that.
Thank you.
And then you take that one.
Yeah, so moving up onto the 420 here, this is where you start to get into the covered humbuckers. So Alnico magnets in these ones, so slightly warmer, slightly lower output sound from the pickups. The covers obviously are going to make a difference to the look, make a little difference to the tone as well. This time solid NATO body and neck, but we've got a maple top on there as well. So just get a little bit more brightness, a little bit more mid-rangey kind of snap to the sound. Still got the slim neck profile and the slim frets. So that's moving up to the 420.
Now does this one have, can you pull up on the tone control on this one?
Yeah. This is the dry switch that we've put into all of these guitars. So the 320 doesn't have it, because as I said, this is just the kind of super stripped down, go for it. All the guitars above that have a new tone circuit in here. So normally when you have a push-pull tone pot on a humbucker equipped guitar, it means you're going to split the coil or tap the coil. So we like the idea of doing that, because to be able to turn your humbucking pickup into a kind of a single coil sounding pickup is a very, very useful thing for a lot of players. But coil splits aren't perfect. You know, they introduce hum, which is the first thing. Obviously a humbucker is great because it hasn't got the hum. Split the coil, you're going to get the hum back. And sometimes you can end up with a slightly weird tone where there's a bit of a hole in the lower mid-range. So it can just end up a little bit thin and brittle sounding. So what we've done here is actually we looked at what people were trying to do with a coil split, and it's not really about making it a single coil. It's just about giving it a bit more spank and a bit more brightness and a bit more clarity. And what we've actually done is designed a passive EQ circuit that is on this switch. So when you pull this, this stays as a humbucker, and it affects both pickups. But the pickups stay as a humbucker, but you engage the dry switch EQ, which actually what it's doing is it's rolling off a little bit of the low end. So you get the effect of a coil split, so you get that more brightness, you get a bit more kind of spankiness to the tone, but still plenty of body in the low mid-range and no hum. So it's great for that. And also the cool thing about that is that it works on single coils. You don't have to use it on a humbucker. So on the guitars that we've got P90s on, you still have that. So you can get that extra brightness out of there and just that extra kind of clarity out of the pickups.
So much more versatile kind of a tonal palette to choose from.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got a regular three-way switch on all these guitars, which is, you know, wide as you'd expect, neck both together, bridge. And this is a global dry switch on both the pickups. So for example, when you've got it in the up position, you've got that low cut filter applied to both pickups, so you're going to get that kind of brighter two pickup sort of tone going on.
Very nice.
So that's on the 420. Then when you move up from there, of the guitars we have today, the next one to show you is the 502T. Now these are pretty early prototypes. This is kind of a sneak peek for you guys. These are factory made, these are as they're going to be, but one thing that is going to change is the colour of this guitar is going to be a little bit darker. So it's going to look exactly like this, but the green's going to be a little bit more of a British racing green. That's what we're aiming for with this guitar. So this is where it starts to get interesting, and actually this guitar was this kind of cosmetic spec was the original concept for this shape. The P90s, the tailpiece, the cream on the high gloss finish. So this has a little bit of a special place in our hearts for this shape. And what you've got on there is a couple of custom wound Alnico P90s. So they've got that really nice heavy single coil tone to it. Again, you've got the dry switch that's going to work on there. This time, at this point is where you start to get into the nicer kind of custom vibey hardware that we've designed for the RevStar series. So you've got a totally unique machined aluminium bridge on there.
That's gorgeous.
It's really nice, looks really cool, but obviously being a kind of floated mounted tailpiece as well, it just gives you a slightly different tone, so it opens it up a little bit. It's a slightly lighter sound, slightly thinner, and actually works really nicely with the P90s. So you've got that, you've got the satin finished hardware. And again, on this guitar and on the 420 as well, actually you've got the custom knobs that we've designed just for this guitar. But you get into the satin finish on on the 500 series and above. And now we're moving into that slightly thicker, slightly chunkier neck. Jumbo frets, nice thick neck.
And is this a mahogany guitar?
Yeah, this one's all mahogany. So once you get up to the 500 series and above, we shift from using NATO to using kind of real full-on mahogany. Even the guitars with a solid finish have a maple top under there for the sound, for the tone, and the brightness and the mid-range in there. But yeah, you got the mahogany and you got the set neck on this one.
Very nice.
Then moving on to the guitar that you're holding on to, Mitch. This is the 720B, the RevStar 720B. Again, mahogany set neck. Obviously, you've got the flame maple top on this guitar.
Gorgeous back on that as well. It's a very figured back.
Yeah, it is really nice. It's really nice wood that we're using on there, and it's nice that even the finish has got a little bit of see-through, so you can see that, you can see the grain and you can see
deep.
the wood in there. Yeah. And then, so you got the flame maple top on there. Obviously, you've got the Bigsby B50 trem. There's kind of three reasons for that. First is they just look awesome.
Right.
Second, obviously, you've got the kind of vibrato tremolo capability with it. But again, it does, even if you never use the trem, changes the sound quite a lot. It gives you its own kind of tonality. So we've got that, and we've got a totally unique pickup that we've had wound for these guitars, which is that sort of retro 50s kind of Filtertron-esque pickup, but in a full humbucker size. So these are our own design, our own wind, and they're kind of somewhere between a P90 and a humbucker is probably a good way to think about it. They are a little bit more pokey and a little bit more humbuckerish than a P90, but they're slightly lower output and slightly more open sounding than a full-on humbucker. Again, you've got the dry switch working in there. So you've got the ability to roll out the low end, make them a little bit brighter, and being a regular humbucker size, if you do want to switch them out and put whatever you like in there, super simple without having to route anything out or go figuring out weird pickups.
Nice.
On this guitar as well, you've got a nice split block perloid inlay.
Right.
Actually based on a design we used on a guitar called the SF from the early 70s. So you've got that on there as well, locking machine heads.
Right, locking tuners.
And these guitars, actually there's a 600 series guitar, which is essentially this with regular humbuckers and no Bigsby. This is also where you start to get into our new hand wire wool finished top. So
it's beautiful.
It's not a straight satin top. It's actually a hand rubbed down finish that's going to age and give you that really nice organic kind of warm tone, both to the sound and the look of it. And you've got that on the body and the headstock on these guitars and above.
Very nice.
And then topping out the range, you've got the guitar that we are kind of dually excited about. The P90 guitar was the original concept for this, but this set of cosmetics is what we're actually calling the Cafe Racer cosmetic, and this was totally inspired by the stripped down bikes. So again, you've got that kind of satin, hand satinized finish, but you've got the gloss stripe detailing on there. You've got the use of the kind of cool mixed metals, so we've got the copper style scratch plate and the satin knobs and controls. And again, you've got on all of these guitars from the 500 series up, you've got the slightly chunkier neck and the jumbo frets.
Right, right. Just the attention to detail on these. This is actually a metal scratch guard, isn't it?
It's anodized aluminium, so it's a real metal scratch guard.
Right, beautiful. The way the strap button is inset and things, you guys have thought of everything. As you
there's a lot of detail on there. Everything's taken care of, and even on the back of the guitars, you can actually see on the back of the headstock. We actually had our own Hanko stamp designed for these guitars. So a Hanko stamp in Japan is the actual stamp they use to sign documents. So everybody has one. And if you ever go to Japan and stay in a hotel or anything like that, the cashier, the clerk, will stamp your bill with the red Hanko stamp. So instead of signing your name, you sign stuff with your Hanko stamp.
Okay.
So everyone has one, and it's kind of the official seal of approval in Japan. And we actually went and designed one and had one made for RevStar, and this actually says RevStar
Nice.
in the kind of Hanko, very traditional Japanese style.
Right.
So you've got that on the back of all the guitars. You've got the RevStar stamp on the back of the headstock. So yeah, it's there's a lot of work's gone into the detail of these guitars.
Yeah, yeah. Clearly, it shows. These are just playing them. They play great. They sound great. I heard you playing through the amp here, and So many great tones come out of these. Julian, it's been great checking these guitars out. I mean, like we were just talking about the attention to detail, the construction detail. They play so well. Just sitting here for a minute playing through it and listening to you play through it, the tones that you get out of these guitars are really astounding, especially when you consider that they're really affordably priced.
Yeah, I mean, we've worked really hard, to be honest, to get guitars that we're really proud of every little detail. So the exact finishes we wanted and the playability we wanted and the exact spec we wanted, but doing that at a price that is really affordable, that you can pick up one of these guitars and go out and gig with it. And yeah, it's not a guitar built to a price at all. It's the right guitar. It's exactly what we wanted to make, and then we went to work to get it to be, you know, exactly the right price.
Nice. I love it. I love that philosophy. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing these to us, giving us a sneak peek of the new line. Very excited about these. I think
No worries.
It's going to be a tremendous success for you.
Thank you for having me.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
I'm Mitch Gallagher. Thanks for joining me for Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear.